What is up, everyone? Welcome to Laner Geography. Today, we're going to take a look at the Alaska Hook exercise response titled, Should the United States Drill for Oil in Alaska's Wilderness? The Hook exercise. We have two different charts here. On the top here, we are looking at the consumption of oil in the United States on that top line. On our second line, it's the domestic supply, which is this line right here. And domestic meaning it comes from our own country. On the bottom, we're taking a look at foreign oil. That is oil we get from other countries. So at the top it says, as U.S. oil consumption rises, the reliance on foreign oil grows. And you have your years here on the x-axis, and you have on this side with our numbers. On the y-axis, you have million barrels per day and percent of petroleum that is imported on the side here as well in terms of percent. So as we take a look, question 1 says about how much oil did the United States produce, our domestic supply per day in 1970. So here I'm going to look at the year 1970. I'm going to go up to the domestic supply line, and I can tell it's just over 10 here. So we're going to say 12 million barrels per day is what our domestic supply would have been in 1970. We're then going to look at the year 2003. So I come across over here, I look at 2003, I go up to our domestic supply line. I can see it's just below 10, so we would say 9 million barrels. So in making an inference here, just looking over the course of these 33 years, you notice the amount that our own country is producing has gone down by 3 million barrels per day. So we can kind of see that consumption line up here is increasing, but what we are supplying in our own country has decreased. Question 2, about what percent of its oil did the United States import from foreign countries in 1973? So I'm looking at the bottom chart here. I see 1973, 35%. So 35% of our petroleum or oil was taking place from foreign countries. In 2005, it went to 56%. So again, making an inference here and just kind of looking at the data, our reliance on other countries for oil has increased from 35% to 56% over the span of from 1973 to 2005. Question 3, what was the gap between the U.S. domestic oil production and oil consumption in 1970? So we're looking at basically the difference between these two lines. So in 1970, we had, like we said earlier, about 12 million barrels per day. And if I'm looking at the distance between these two, it's about 3. And again, I say about because you might have put 2 down. Something 2 or 3 million barrels per day, I think, would be a sufficient answer. And that's why I put that word about in there. Then you look at 2003. So I go back to here, 2003. I look at this gap in here. I look again, we said 9 million barrels per day. And I kind of look up here, and it's almost at about 20. So we're saying the difference is about 12 million barrels per day. And again, a number close to that. Again, it might not be exact. So you're kind of starting to see, the gap right here is very close between these two, and it starts to widen. And then in our third year here, we're looking at 2025, the projection, it's about 20 million barrels per day. So as we're looking here, this is almost at 30. This is almost at 10. So the difference between here, you're looking at 20 million barrels per day. So again, looking at an inference here, we can see over the course as the years continue to go on, our gap between how much oil we make and how much oil we are using is increasing dramatically. And if you're following the trend of this line, I know they talk about trends in math class sometimes. If this continues to go up and this continues to go like this, you're going to see that gap continue to widen.